Welcome to the Out Loud podcast. My name is John.
And I'm Brian.
This is the podcast where we make you feel really good, even if it's not telling the truth.
What?
Brian, your hair looks really good today.
You're a horrible person.
Roll the intro music.
Open up your mind. Tell me where you want to be. Tell me what you need.
Before we jump into our topic today, huge thank you to Nearly York for their song Take You There for the intro and outro music.
Psyched.
Check them out on Spotify. Love it. Love their music.
So what are we going to talk about today? I have three topics I want to kind of touch on, and I know you're really good at that stuff, so you can kind of help me out on it. I want to talk about LGBTQ health, like a little health survey.
It's so funny because I want to talk about that too.
Wow, that's good. Masks. I know probably people have heard about it at nauseum, but I think I need to get on a soapbox just so I can put it out there, get it off my chest, and then not have to talk about it again
right there with
tomorrow.
you. Yes, okay.
Okay, and then the last thing is kind of still on that health thing, a thing called intermittent fasting.
Oh, yes, that'll be a good one.
Which you know more the physiological side of the stuff, and I started doing it, so we can kind of share both things and what I'm experiencing.
Well, I think my health stuff is going to build off of yours, so why don't you go first?
Okay, so I found this great article on Reuters. It was from 2016, so I don't want to say it's dated, but it's still, I think it'll still be very relevant. I was surprised at what I read, but then as I read the article more, I wasn't surprised at it. So it was a survey done by the National Health Survey in 2013 and 14. This organization started in 1957, but this is the first time that they ever included a question about sexual orientation. So the survey found excess health problems in lesbian, gays, and bisexuals. Okay, so there were about 69,000 participants, and of those, it was like 525 lesbian, 624 gay men, and 515 bisexuals. So it's only about 2% of the survey were, of the community, but they said, according to the survey, lesbian, gays, and bisexual were most likely to report, and I'm just reading it from here, impaired physical and mental health, heavy alcohol consumption, and heavy cigarette use. And it says potentially due to the stressors that we experience as a result of basically being a minority. It's a structural discrimination that we're doing. So I was surprised at that just because I'm always like, oh, it's that, that gay stereotype that, we're all going to the gym and we all eat well and we're, take care of ourselves. But that's why I was like very surprised. It's kind of the exact opposite for people, and it went on to say that gays and lesbians report worse psychological distress than heterosexuals, and bisexual people suffered the most, and it went on to say just because sometimes bisexuals aren't accepted by lesbian, gays, or the straight community. So they're under even more stress than us. So it's like, can you just love everybody? Can you just, like, we're a community of what does that say in the back of his computer? One human family. That's what we need to do. So, so of that, 22% of heterosexual women had at least moderate psychological distress compared to 28% of lesbians.
Okay.
And then with men, 17% heterosexual men had at least moderate psychological distress compared to 26% gay men, but 40% of bisexuals. So it's like they're really hit harder.
That's actually the number one identifying of the LGBTQ plus community is bisexual. That comprises the majority of our population.
Yeah, and it's funny because this survey, I don't know if because it was 2013, you know, that there was no trans people. I don't know if, because, I mean, it was 2% of
Right.
the LGBT.
I'm sure on their questionnaire they probably said, do you identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual?
Yeah,
They probably didn't include the T. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but I do want to note that this survey, when it was taken in 2013, 2014, was the year before the government passed in 2015 legalizing gay marriage.
Okay.
So I would like to see if there's a new national health survey. I don't know if they do it every year or not, to see if that has changed how we're doing.
For the
You
health,
know,
for
like
the health
is,
issues.
Is that, like, I think as it becomes more accepting,
Yeah.
as the world becomes more accepting of the LGBTQ community, you know, would it alleviate some of that stress that, you know, that we're feeling?
Well, I think I can answer that partly.
Okay.
So there's this very well-known thing called the minority stress model, where if you're a minority, whether it's a racial minority, gender, sexual minority, any of those, you experience more stress. And as a result of that stress, you may eat more, eat less, drink more, smoke more. All of these different and social factors, psychological factors play into the fact that you're a minority has huge impacts on your health, both physical and mental. And I also wanted to circle back to something you said about you have this concept in your head that it may be seen gay men are these fit, like bulky sort of guys. Well, I'll just say that what we're taught in school is things like eating disorders. Risk factors for those are younger women who are very body conscious, and also gay men, because we're so body conscious and we feel like we need to fit this mold again. And we have like a YouTube video on that entire topic, but like, no, it's a very well-known thing, and it ties in, that minority stress model ties into what I want to talk about today, which is how the pandemic has disproportionately affected LGBTQ plus populations. And fundamentally, it's kind of what Brian said, is they're more unhealthy. Therefore, they're more vulnerable. And I think the best way to tackle this is I'm going to divide it into physical health and then into mental health. So sexual and gender minorities have higher rates of cancer, HIV and AIDS, cardiovascular disease, chronic illness, alcoholism, substance abuse, smoking, vaping, obesity, autoimmune. I mean, the list is sadly very, very long. And this is research from Boston University. They actually did some work with Fenway, where you go.
Fenway Community Health.
Yep. And this is also from the American Psychological Association as well. So these physical health comorbidities put LGBTQ plus people at higher risk of a worse prognosis if they get COVID, right? So we hear that, you know, if you have underlying issues, that COVID is going to affect you more. And so that's partly the reason why LGBTQ really are getting the brute end of this. Now to talk about mental health issues. More vulnerable in our population for this minority stress model. We have a lot more stress, and that means we have to have better coping mechanisms than the average person, which that's easier.
Yeah, I don't have that.
You know how they cope is drinking and smoking and drug use, and that is coping. It's more of a numbing than anything. I know we're getting really down and dirty right now, like just dark.
Dark. It's not, but it's the reality.
It is the reality.
But we can change that reality.
It said here that mental health issues are often exacerbated by social isolation. And what has happened with the pandemic? Yeah. Everyone's at home and they're alone, and if they don't have anybody, they're really feeling it.
They might be talking on Grindr and Scruff, but no one's hooking up because they don't want to die. There's
probably an all-time high of naughty pics on people's phones.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
Don't ever scroll through a gay man's phone.
That's
for sure. So all of this social isolation, you add in the anxiety around employment or housing, access to healthcare, and all of these things amount to just, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's terrible. And it's not just for LGBTQ plus, it's also for racial minorities. I'm talking our black and brown brethren that are feeling this as well.
Yep.
also, it talks specifically about older LGBTQ plus people because of the social isolation, that they're really feeling closed in, and there's really not much, and they probably have more comorbidities, therefore high risk of COVID, so they really need to stay in. Hopefully y'all are getting those vaccines though and getting out there. This is one of my fears though. This is really one of my fears, is that there are people in our community, LGBTQ plus, who feel that they can't go and get the vaccine because they're gonna get discriminated against, or they just feel like they need to isolate themselves, or maybe they don't even have access to healthcare.
Right.
You know?
No, I'm sure that's a big problem. But, I mean, I feel this administration is really trying to get it out there, as far as making it access. I mean, I just heard, it's either Massachusetts and or Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Like it's 16 plus now.
Oh, age
Like
16
starting,
plus.
Yeah, starting like either next week or I think next
And I
week.
think
So-
that is the low. Like that
Yeah.
that is the lowest
then-
that the
then-
vaccines were studied.
Then
So that's
was it Pfizer's today that came out the results for their testing for 12 to 15-year-olds.
Oh, I didn't see that yet.
100% effective.
Fantastic.
100%. So now that's great for getting all your kids back to school, and now they're going to go a little younger and see what that is, and go a little younger.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're hoping by fall we can have a lot of the kids vaccinated, so school can start up again.
Back in school.
Yep.
Here's an issue that I didn't think about, and it's really important, that there's this social discrimination issue if your partner has HIV or has cancer or something, which, like I said, are at higher risk for LGBTQ plus people. So if your partner has one of those conditions and you need to go to work, but you also don't want to bring COVID back home with you, and you tell your employer, hey, I don't feel safe coming in, and so you there's this disconnect. There's much more pressure on our population, I think,
Yeah.
from that standpoint.
No, when my mom was getting her second dose, she lives in Massachusetts, they had what was called I think it was partner vaccine.
Okay.
Or whatever. So if you brought a senior citizen to get their second vaccine, they would give you a vaccine.
Fantastic.
But then, of course, because not all people are very nice, people started taking advantage of that somehow, and then they stopped the partnership. Because I was going to take my mom, but my sisters ended up taking her for a second one instead, because I wasn't going to be able to get it anyway. So.
And like Brian, he has all of this family he can lean on. He has friends, family, he has me. But when you don't have those social connections,
Right.
and you're really isolated, oh man.
Yeah, because I mean,
Oh, man.
when I'm not here, I'm like home and I'm by myself, and just even that sometimes has a toll, but it's still nothing compared to what I think some people have to experience, which sucks.
Well, yeah, and they're experiencing this, and like I said, I really hope that they still go and get the vaccine, because if no one's in your ear to say so, maybe we're the people in your ear and just poking you and trying to help you go and get it. But this is all coming at the heels of some really messed up, I would like to use a different word, but messed up Arkansas legislature. There's a governor, Asa Hutchinson.
Well, yeah,
ASA,
the first,
Asa,
yeah, the
I
first
don't know.
part right.
So he signed into law that allows medical practitioners in Arkansas to deny LGBTQ plus
gosh.
of non-emergent medical care.
Oh, I did hear that.
Like, what the heck? What in the actual heck?
Yeah.
Like,
No, that's not right. And the thing is, what I don't understand is how, as a human being, can you, especially if like you're a politician and you're in the legislature, state legislature, or whatever, how can you, with good conscience, vote for that? Like, how can you? I'm sorry. Like, it's just like, I mean, it's like similar to this whole Black Lives Matter thing. Like back in the 50s, and since from whenever, how they've been discriminated against, and it's like still. So I don't
There has been a lot of like anti-trans specifically
Yep.
legislature coming out. I mean, a lot of it.
Well, there was a lot with the last administration, and and they're changing that.
Right. And well, so my question is like, how can Asa Hutchinson pass this law with the Equality Act? Like, so I guess that means I need to figure that out. I don't understand how can you discriminate for sexuality for medical care when this Equality Act is protecting LGBTQ plus rights.
See, I'm not
There's
sure.
a disconnect.
There's
So
a
if-
difference between state and federal as far as because
Definitely.
I mean, when Massachusetts was the first one to pass
Gay marriage.
and like legal marriage.
Yeah.
But it wasn't recognized by federal. But I want to know, like, does the state's laws overrule federal laws?
If anyone knows the answer to that, please contact us. Comment if you're watching this on YouTube, and we have an email now
We have an
too.
email.
Yeah, so send us an email. It's outloudjb, like John and Brian, outloudjb@gmail.com. So
Cool.
if someone knows, please definitely answer that. I wanna finally close up this discussion talking about something I discussed in my ethics class last semester, where it was a paper written in JAMA, which is the Journal of the American Medical Association.
This thing was.
It's like the
Yeah.
most well-known medical, journal about how ICUs are making decisions, and this was really in the midst of the really really bad part of the pandemic where we really didn't have enough resources to go around. But the article talks about how we made the decisions to ration ventilators
Oh yeah.
and
Wouldn't wanna
critical
make
care and critical care beds. So the standard way of doing this, and it sort of makes sense, is to pick who has the best chance of survival and who has the most years yet to live, and that's who gets the bed. That's who gets the ventilator.
Once again, ageism.
Yes, but when you have this shortage of rations, you have to make
No, I
these
get it. I
difficult
get it.
decisions.
I get
Really.
it.
So
Survival of the fittest.
I understand it, but this also, when you think about it, and everything we talked about so far today, it leans into the systemic racism, both for LGBTQ plus people and Black and Brown people, every minority, because we say
Our Asian friends.
Asian friends, like research shows, we have poor health. We have less ideal health than our heterosexual, cisgender, white counterparts. It's just how it is. And as a result of that, we are not being scored as well on these scoring systems being used to get a critical care bed or to get a ventilator. Simply because of this systemic racism, we don't have access to care, or with this minority stress model, we are just not taking care of ourselves as well as, like I said, the other people around there. Fact is that this admissions criteria has this inherent bias against people of sexual, gender, and racial minorities.
No, well, it's not surprising. I mean,
It's not surprising.
not surprising. It's unfortunate, but not surprising.
The important thing here is that people are, like, this is an issue that there was a paper written about it, so the wheels are turning, definitely, and that's good. And the other thing about this pandemic is we're really not going to know if what we're talking about is 100% accurate, because it's not like everyone who passes away of COVID is surveyed on their sexuality.
Right.
So we won't see the proportions of how that's going, and we don't have that data. Like this data with your
Will we,
survey.
though? I mean,
No,
I don't think.
no,
Yeah.
because they're not surveyed. It's not a piece of data that's collected.
That's surprising.
It's an issue within the medical community that is definitely being discussed. Of we need to identify sexuality, gender identity for research purposes in really any area of medicine, and finding the best way to do that. All right, let's get off of this like depressing sort of topic here.
So, do you want to do intermittent fasting, or are we going to talk about masks?
This has to be the weirdest segue.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Well, masks.
Let's do masks. Let's do masks. Yeah.
masks.
Oh, okay. We were so triggered.
No, you can't. You can't even go there. So I'm like, what is going on, people? You still need to wear a mask. I don't care. I don't care what you think. I do care what you think, but I don't care what you think when it comes to masks.
Well, it's public
They
health. It's public health.
help prevent the spread of the virus.
Ding, ding, ding.
I don't care what people read or people say. You're taking away my rights. If you're dead, you won't have any rights. How's that? So
Talk
Just-
about Planet Fitness,
well,
please.
no. You want to say
Yeah,
who
no,
it is?
right away,
Okay.
because we need to get this off our
Well,
chest.
do we want to do that, or I want to talk about the segment?
I
that
need to-
No,
I
no,
need
I'm
to.
going to talk about the segment
Okay,
first.
okay.
So there was a segment because it does have Planet Fitness.
Okay, that's
So
right.
there was a segment on ABC News last week that, like, I was in the kitchen and like I heard, so I go running back into the living room, and it was about like the gyms opening back up, and some are at limited capacity, some don't seem to care about capacity. So they were filming, but they didn't. I don't know if people knew, but they kind of had to sign a release, so they must have at some point. But people just didn't have their masks on. I don't want to say like they were wearing it like as a neck warmer.
Gone.
Just gone. Like they weren't wearing it whatsoever. And the reporter, after after leaving the gym, went out to like the parking lot when these people came out and was like, was there a reason why you weren't wearing a mask? And one woman was like, I was wearing my mask, and he had the picture of her on the treadmill without a mask on, and she's still saying, I had a mask, and then she's like, I have to go, and then she like peels out of the parking lot.
Later.
But then they asked the manager, and the manager said, well, we ask everybody to keep their mask on. So this guy, the reporter, was like, so this is what happens. So you're on the treadmill and you're working out, or you're pumping, you're doing some dumbbells, and like you're breathing heavily probably. And he took a spray bottle and he sprayed it, and he's like, these are the water droplets that can travel up to 35 feet.
Wow.
That could be infected with the virus. These
Right.
people could be infected with the virus. So to me, it's not so much, I don't care if you don't care about your health,
It's other people.
but I care about my health.
Yeah.
So you're a pretty selfish, crappy person if you don't care about your family, your friends, neighbors, or people you don't even know. You should wear a mask.
Yeah, if you're low risk of getting COVID, or you're not gonna, if you do get it, you're not gonna like die from it because you don't have these comorbidities. You should still keep in mind the people who are around you who could
Yep.
get it and could get really sick from it.
All right, so we'll go to the Planet Fitness now that we.
Where
Go
was
too
this
wild there.
study? Where was the
They were in LA.
LA?
Oh, so they did Planet Fitness and LA Fitness.
Okay.
And there were people like just didn't have masks on, and it was kind of like, oh well, that's kind of the way it is. So
we're in central Pennsylvania, and we go to Planet Fitness. We go to a few different Planet Fitnesses, but there's one in particular, and I don't want to say it because I don't know. There's probably just not even like
What?
good. I probably can't say it, but I would love to say which one it is.
oh
because
yeah, no, we don't
I
have to
have
do that. We don't have to do
I
that.
have filed a report with the Department of Health. Brian and I both have talked with employees
So,
at this Planet Fitness.
Here's the story with the employee. So I said, hey, can I ask you a question? Young kid, I don't know, 18 to
Yeah.
20 maybe,
Yeah.
whatever. He's like, oh yeah, sure, what's up? And I was like, do you have to wear a mask? So let me put it this way. Every 12 to 15 feet in that club and plastered all over the door, it said masks are required. Required is capital, all caps,
Yeah.
bold, and highlighted in yellow
And-
throughout the whole club.
And when you walk into the club, there is a like sort of formal posting there about the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Like, this is still a requirement. You must wear a mask.
All right. So they have this thing, which I thought was very clever, called social fitnessing.
Love it.
So, it was like every 3 or every 2 or 3 treadmills, ellipticals, bikes you couldn't get on. So you'd be, you have that social
Fitnessing.
distancing, social fitnessing in between everybody. But yesterday when we were there, that's all gone now.
There's no social fitnessing.
No
Of course.
social
Well,
fitnessing.
and the other thing, like, nobody except for Brian and I is wearing a mask. And listen, I get it. I absolutely.
He's a sweater.
I absolutely hate wearing a mask when I work out because I sweat like a pigs don't sweat. I don't understand that. I don't understand that saying. But
sweat
I
like a
sweat.
pig. Yeah,
I
that is
sweat like a
weird.
pig, and it's just not comfortable for me. And then I break out on my cheeks, and
Yeah.
like it's just not fun. I feel like I can't breathe, even though I know I can breathe. It's not. But I still wear a mask. There is nobody else in that gym
Yep.
wearing a mask.
I actually remember those two really cute old people, that older couple.
Yes.
He had like the
The
shield
clear shield
mask
thing.
on, and she had a mask on. But like otherwise, even the owner, because we know who the owner
We
is.
know the owner. He's not wearing a
not
mask.
wearing a mask. And so, so this is to go back to the kid when I asked. I was like, so what's the deal? Do we have to wear masks? Oh, no, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, well, why is it posted everywhere then? Well, we kept asking people, and they got really pissed at us, so we don't bother asking anymore.
Girl, that's your job.
That's your job.
Your
And
job,
you-
yes.
And you know what? Yeah, that sucks having to ask people that. But you know what? It's kind of the law. Like
It's
the
sort of
thing
a
is,
law.
if there's a grocery store next door, so when these people leave there and go do the grocery shopping, they wear a mask,
Definitely.
and they're like barely breathing. They're like breathing all over everybody, and no one's wearing masks. So while I was working out, I said to John, "What if I took my shirt off right now?"
We totally need to do this.
It's like I want to do it, but you don't want
So
to
this,
do it
of
with
course,
shirt.
Planet Fitness has the lunk alarm. They're very, it's no judgment zone. So we're just thinking, you know what? No judgment. We're gonna take our shirts off. If we can wear our shirt and not wear our shirts, then people.
Right, because if you have a rule that says, "Oh no, you have to wear a shirt," I'll be like, "But you also have a rule that says masks are required, and no one's wearing those. So why do I have to wear a shirt?" It's almost like making a point that I'm sure I'd be kicked out of it anyways, and the police would take me out of the gym shirtless, and that's a picture I don't want to see on the 6 o'clock
Yes,
news.
please.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Well, then I was so heated over this because
'cause
just the proportion of people that weren't wearing masks last time we went just really put me over the
And
edge.
it is everybody. And I want to say it's like 20-year-olds and like 70-year-olds that didn't have masks on.
I was even getting cranky with Brian.
Yeah.
Brian's like, "What are you doing? Why are you so cranky? What's
That's what
going on?"
I was like, what is the... And of course, I'm like, what am I like not working out hard enough or fast enough for him or whatever? And he's like, this mask thing is pissing me off, which it does. And then on the flip side of that coin, we went to another Planet Fitness a little further away on Sunday because you didn't have school and I didn't have work. So we were like, let's go to this one. It's a new club. Everybody, all the front desk staff, every single person in that club was masked up. I saw people like pull it down and take a sip
Right
of
back
water
up.
and right back up. And I was just like, I don't get it. And it's you lead by example. And if you don't tell people this is what they have to do, they're not going to do it.
And and the staff was walking around too. Like when I was there at that one, they were walking around and making sure that masks were on.
Oh yeah, I belong to Edge Fitness at home, and they are vigilant about it. They'll come on on the loudspeaker like every hour or so. Make sure you have your mask up, and that means it's covering your nose as well as your mouth. And then the staff walks around, and everybody adheres to it. And that is it's a big gym.
Yeah.
And it is I don't want to say a musclehead gym, but there are some serious fit
There's
people there, and they all abide by it. So
Mind
I
you-
don't get it.
Mind you, I am fully vaccinated. You have your
I
first.
got one.
He has his first. So we have both at least some sort of protection against it, and we still recognize the importance of wearing a mask. It's still important.
I laughed out loud yesterday because we actually could shower at the gym, which I thought was surprising too. So I go into the shower and I still had my mask on. So it's like when people were like, "Oh, I can't wear it because I can't breathe." I actually saw when this first started, the pandemic first started, this emergency room doctor in New York. It was a segment again on ABC News where people were like, "I can't breathe when I wear the mask."
yeah.
He put on either 7 or 8 masks and did his VO2
Yeah.
and like his oxygen input and carbon CO2 output, and they were all within the acceptable range. And he was like, so when people say they can't breathe, I mean, unless they have some sort of respiratory problem, But
even then, I've seen asthmatic patients on like TikTok and things do their pulse ox on their finger, and it shows like still 99%, 100% of when they're wearing a mask. It's crazy. It's absolutely
So
crazy.
there you go. That's our mask story. We're sticking to it.
Mask
Just put
up.
a mask on.
All right, I think that's it for today. We'll
What?
get on the intermittent fasting thing
right.
next time. I don't know why you wanted to squeeze in fasting on all
Well,
this.
I don't know because I have to do it. So
He's
I
on
want
this fasting kick.
because we're going to Fort Lauderdale. Mark your calendars, everybody. We're going to be in Fort Lauderdale from May 2nd to the
7th?
whatever that
I don't know.
whatever
It's for
that
a week.
Saturday
It's
is.
for a
Yeah,
week.
we're there for a week in Fort Lauderdale. So we're excited about that. So I'm like, why not try this intermittent fasting and lose a couple pounds?
Bride's got to get his beach bod back on. So do I, honestly.
okay.
So do I. I probably put on like 15 plus pounds, but I tried to. Like I was bulking.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the end of our episode
belly's
today.
bulking.
We're gonna stop it. Again, thank you to Nearly York for letting us use their song "Take You There." Check out their Spotify.
In our next one, I think we're going to have a little more fun with some topics.
Yeah.
We'll do some serious stuff, but I
Yeah.
think we need to lighten it up too.
Yeah, this is getting a little dark. Don't forget, we have a new email, outloudjb@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
And
Subscribe.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Anything else to add there, Bri?
No, I had fun. Wear your mask.
Wear your mask. All right. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you in the next one.
one.